Hey, good afternoon, good evening, whatever you are, whatever time it is. Welcome to the Slam Nation show on New York Nerds Network. I'm here. I'm All That Pat, joined as always in the studio by the one, the only, the legend of the screen, Lord Cash. How are you doing this fine Tuesday night?
I'm doing pretty darn well. Things are going nice. Things are looking up. School's back in session, so the kids are out of the house, at least for the first part of the half of the day. So it is a good time.
Oh, absolutely. Up here in the New York area, we're going to be having that exact same thing happening in about 2 to 3 weeks. But right now, everybody's here. Everybody's in the house. But things are looking up in many ways, looking kind of questionable in other ways. But the bottom line is we're here about professional wrestling. And this week is the big week. Not only do we have SummerSlam weekend coming up, not only do we have NXT TakeOver, we also have the very, very real possibility. I mean, I would imagine it's a guarantee that CM Punk is returning to professional wrestling. Lots of stuff going on this week. On the scale of 1 to 10, Lord Cash, where are you on excitement levels for professional wrestling?
You know, it's so I've made mention that because it is the summertime, a lot of my normal network television series have pretty much had their finales on a normal basis in that May-June timeframe. So being that I have some free time on my hands because I've got less shows to be watching, and so because of that, I've picked back up watching AEW. So I've got a little bit of knowledge of what's going on over there. And of course, still regularly watching WWE stuff. I haven't dived back into NXT. There's no one really over there that's kind of drawing me in, so to speak.
Right.
I know Samoa Joe kind of is playing in that sandbox right now for a little bit, and technically that could be something to draw me in. But I just there's no one. There is people over there, but I'm not trying to say there's no one good over there. Just no one that is really drawing me in.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of big transitions over there on the Golden Black brand. But as we move forward today, just want to kind of give you guys all a heads up on what we're going to be talking about today. We are going to be talking about the Cena Reigns promo from WWE SmackDown this past Friday. We're also going to be talking about that SummerSlam can be seen in select theaters around the country this Saturday. There's been a lot of stuff going on with the Impact World Championship belt, especially as it pertains to All Elite World Championship Wrestling. Ric Flair made an appearance in Mexico this past weekend for AAA. Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair may not be happening this weekend. And the biggest elephant in the room is the one and only CM Punk returning to a wrestling ring after the trunk right there, after a nearly 10-year absence coming in for AEW. But let's go ahead and get started tonight with our first thing on the list, and that is the promo that occurred on SmackDown this past week between Cena and Roman Reigns. Cena came out firing for sure. He did not hold anything back. He blasted Reigns, quite honestly, and the way that the company has been, quote, protecting him. What were your thoughts about this John Cena promo against the head of the table, the man that's been running the show for the past 10 months or so? What were your thoughts about this promo last week, Lord Cash?
So I had not watched SmackDown when it first aired. And I know I got the text message from you saying, oh my gosh, that was probably one of the best promos out there. And so I got the kids off to bed, and I kind of sat down and had my earbuds in and was kind of listening to a little bit what was going on. And I do have to say, definitely punches were not held back. They were really going for the jugular, if you will. And I thought it was really, it kind of reminded me a little bit of definitely kind of like the Rock Cena.
Okay.
Where it evolved from kind of personal, real life things. I don't know if I would go as far back as saying, kind of Edge and Matt Hardy, because of the fact of like real life situations that were fueling it. one of the things that I've really kind of latched onto a little bit is it was I want to say it was Randy Orton's little session on the Broken Skulls, where when he started kind of like bringing personal things out into his promos, that Randy Orton really like stepped up his game, his notoriety. That passion was there, and so therefore those promos had heart, had feelings to them.
Now, what I thought was interesting is that this, like, you remember, Lord Cash, about the heart and everything. Yeah, it's like I remember 3 or 4 years ago, I believe that John Cena came back, confronted Roman Reigns, and did this exact same thing. But at that point, Reigns was a good guy. Am I wrong in remembering that? That it was right on the same time too, that they had this exact same thing happen.
I don't recall that. It's. I know, and again, I'm not sure exactly how far back, but I know essentially it's kind of like the whole same beef that Cena had with The Rock. That The Rock went off and became Hollywood, and now kind of Reigns is almost having that same beef with Cena, that he's gone off to become Hollywood. He's like, don't you have another movie to be, promoting or something? Kind of having those little jabs at Cena.
Right.
The only thing is, not to say that Rock isn't a great, talker on the mic, but that is definitely one of the strengths that John Cena has, and has utilized that over his career. The quick wit on the mic, especially with coming up with, the rap battle things that he did early on in his career, that really catapulted him from the B squared time frame to, Dr. Thugonomics, when he actually came out and did the rap battles with people. That, those mic skills, that's what catapulted him. So John Cena is no stranger to the mic. So
definitely not. Yeah.
If Roman Reigns is going to try to get a little jab in and, make fun of his past relationship or something like that, John Cena, he'll take it. He will take the stuff, but then he's going to reverse it back and throw it right back in your face.
What you say about taking it? He actually, he referenced Suplex City, and he kind of invented it when Brock threw him for 15 Germans in a row. Yeah. And Cena did say in his promo on Friday, the whole idea is that all he has to do is, again, like you said, take it. All he has to do is survive, and then all he's got to do is get that 1, 2, 3. And we know that 1 + 2 + 3 equals 17 in the world of WWE going into SummerSlam. We might also have John Cena breaking the all-time record, of which he is tied with the Nature Boy Ric Flair. We're going to be talking about him in just a few moments, too, about Flair's world professional wrestling involvement. But, if you had to basically pick, going into this weekend, is Cena going to actually pull it off? Is he going to actually upset the apple cart and take the belt off of the head of the table? What are your thoughts?
That is the proverbial $1 million question. I don't know if I am ready to make that call just yet.
Right. We do have a final SmackDown on Friday, like you're kind of referencing to, see what they fill out for that.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn the question around, and I'm gonna ask it just a little bit different. Do you think that the 16-time record will be beaten by anybody?
Well, Orton is there at 14. Seth Rollins is at 13. And Cena is exactly tied with Flair. I think Triple H has 13. That's not happening.
Randy Orton and Triple H, I believe, are 14 each.
Okay. So
they're tied, and then Cena and Flair.
So I do think that it would be fair for Cena to win. Simply because, to be honest, when you really think about the overall picture, there could be truly a debate as to whether or not Cena or Flair are the greatest of all time. Because no matter what, Cena has been able to transition just like Flair has. So I think it's possible, right? Cena's had a bigger variety of matches than Flair ever did, quite honestly. Flair's a great competitor. Majority of his matches after a certain point, like I'd say after like the year 1999 or 2000, end up being the same, whereas Cena continued to evolve even to this very day. I think the excitement level of SummerSlam for me, this is one of the matches I'm looking forward to most, and your reluctance to make a prediction, Lord Cash, is why I'm so excited for that match, is that I could see it going either way, and I would be okay either way. I think that the whole situation in Mexico over this past weekend, the way that Vince and company tend to stick it to people as a way to kind of get some little like petty revenge, right? We might see Flair and the family almost getting punished in a sense by having Cena go over, whether that was the plan or not. Right. You know, Reigns has had a long run. I mean, basically he's had the belt for a year. I think it'd be great to have him go into next WrestleMania never beaten, but I don't know. It's tough to call. I mean, wouldn't Vince salivate over the fact that Cena could be walking the red carpet with that title?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They did it with Bad Bunny.
I was just going to say that it's no different than having Bad Bunny go to Saturday Night Live, having the 24/7 champ, you know, right there on his waist, on his lap as he's performing his musical number at the end of the night. So, and then not only, you know, promoting the, you know, Suicide Squad, if they're doing any more press junkets for that. I'm trying to think of if he has what else he's got on his list for releases.
Right. He's got a lot of different things. No matter what, he's got he's going to be out in the public more than Roman Reigns is. Let's just put it like that. So, right. Like you mentioned, though, we'll have to watch SmackDown on Friday to kind of see, like, wrestling wise, where they go with this particular story moving forward. So yeah, we'll have to see what our thoughts really are. Now with SummerSlam, you know, coming back into the world, people allowed to be coming back in. You and I talked about this a little bit earlier today, that SummerSlam is also being shown in theaters nationwide, select theaters. I know near me, my AMC in Staten Island does have tickets for it. Currently, there's only about 8 people that picked a seat, but that's typical. It's actually pretty good because the show's not for another 4 or 5 days. So a lot of people probably picking up their tickets last minute. For us here, it's $25 a seat. I think a normal movie here is like $21, $23. It's expensive here. So a couple bucks more for a 5-hour show. Price-wise, I don't think it's a big deal. But, you know, will people want to be sitting in a seat with a bunch of people for 5 hours? I don't know. You mentioned in your area you also have a theater that's showing this.
Yeah, so on Disney property, the one that I was looking at to possibly make that venture out into doing, it's at Disney Springs, the AMC theater that we have on property there. It's in our dine-in fork and screen theater. So it's a small theater, maybe like 30, 40 top seats altogether. Mm-hmm. Only 2 seats have been claimed at this given moment, and it's around that same $25, $26 price range. But the nice thing is I don't know how yours is faring out. Is it one of those dine-in theaters as well?
Yeah, at our AMC, you can get the dine-in, you know, at any point. All the theaters are basically set up like that.
Okay, so we have ones that are specifically designated. We've got 6 out of 24 that are the dine-in theaters, or maybe we're up to 8. I know they did a bunch of conversions. So there is part of the theater that is just straight up large theater, stadium seating, you know, your 200-300 seat auditoriums, where then you've got the other ones that have that 30 to 40 seat auditoriums, and they used to have them where you actually had a table in front of you, and they would have like 4 or 6 in the middle, and then you'd have 2 on the left and right of that. So you'd have like maybe like 10 across. But now they've got it to where you've got the reclining seats. So again, that's a nice little added bonus. You just, you know, kick back, relax, you know, try not to fall asleep, and stuff like that. And then of course you've got your little adjustable tray table that will slide in and out if you're ordering, a burger, or if you just getting popcorn and a drink. And of course, I know when way back in the day we used to go to Hooters, Wing House, or whatever. Right. I had a kind of a unwritten rule, so to speak, that okay, I'm taking this table for 4 or 5 hours. I always wanted to make sure that I did whoever was waiting on us. I wanted to do them right. So I always wanted to make sure I try to keep them busy. Why at least once an hour I'm ordering something. Yeah. Whether it is an appetizer to start us off with, an actual entree. I would get a dessert, in the 10 o'clock hour. Just try to keep that, and of course, making sure since I've been taking their table for the time, tip them well.
Right. I mean, like with the movie theater, think about that because they offer the tip idea too when you do the food to go, or the dine-in experience. I mean, for the theater themselves, you got to think that they're basically giving up 2 showings of something. Right. So I would imagine that they're also hoping that they get double the food orders for that exact reason. I would like to go to this show in the theaters. I mean, our situation's a little different for a variety of reasons, but like you mentioned, the Wing House and the Hooters, the idea of like, if you don't have, we're not going. Like, we're not going to SummerSlam in Vegas, for example. So you don't get that idea of camaraderie and being able to cheer, get that excitement. But if you're in a theater with a bunch of people, you would. Whereas, I'm going to be watching it myself, basically. So I might cheer and hoot and holler, but you don't get that vibe. But you also don't get to relax at home. You don't have to worry about, I'm still paranoid about the pandemic for sure. Right. And I've been to a couple movies, and people do, even though you're supposed to wear a mask up here, they don't. They come in, they just chill. But I don't know. Bottom line is, I think it's really cool that WWE is going back to this. They used to do this way back in the day with closed circuit television, in the early days of the WWE. So we'll see if it actually works nationwide. I mean, because we're only in 2 areas, obviously, that you and I are representing. So I'll be curious if the WWE actually releases some data as to how well it does, because financially we do also have to address the big thing is that Peacock is $10 a month for the pay-per-views. You pay $10, your whole family's watching it, whereas if you bring the kids to this thing, because child's tickets are the same. Well, it's $5, but aren't the pay-per-views also you have to have the 10 package?
No, if it's the 5 with commercials for the Peacock NBC stuff. So you can get away with a $5 a month and get the pay-per-views. If you want no commercials in all your other programming, then that's where it's the $10. So it's half price than what the WWE Network was.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so I mean, you can't even get a cup of ice at the movie theater for $5. So, but again, we'll be curious because I know that some people do want to take their kids out to a theater experience regardless. They know it's going to be more, but it's just the idea of getting out. So, bottom line is we'll have to see if this actually takes off for them.
Yeah, and I'm sure, because I know when, you live down here in Orlando, when we were at a movie theater working, we kind of were trying to start something like that, way back in the, early 2000s, 2003, 4 time frame. And I'm sure there's a licensing,
definitely.
That goes along with, because I don't know if they can get away with just, especially since WWE is promoting it, they just can't, plug in their, Apple TV into the projector. Right. Who knows? They may be, I don't know. Or right. If it, it's very similar to, okay, well, since it's all, a lot of the movie theaters now are digital. Anyways, they've gone away from the 35 millimeter actual film prints, that they just go, all right, you want this one? Right in the computer. It actually beams it right to your hard drive at your computer, at your theater. And then you just say, okay, I want it to go to this theater. And, they get so much money after, or say, okay, it's $2,000 to rent it. And then whatever you make in revenue, that's yours or something. I don't know. Right. I'd be interested to see what the logistics on that are, and how much money they're going to make. And being that this is the first time, I'm sure Survivor Series, WrestleMania, those ones, Royal Rumble, the big four are going to be the targeted markets for going inside the theater. I can't imagine them doing, whatever the other ones they have between now, the smaller ones. I can't even think of what's next after SummerSlam.
Yeah, it'd be like the Night of Champions and things of that nature. So we'll see if they'll end up going that direction. Now we're talking about the the logistics, so to speak. Now I don't know how familiar you are, Lord Cash, with the phrase that they've opened the forbidden door in professional wrestling.
I know, I know that term, but what exactly do you mean by it?
So basically, in the world of professional wrestling, typically companies don't make references to each other. Like Correct. WWE exists in its own world from WCW back in the day. So now AEW, since they've been around for the past 2 years, they have, quote, opened that forbidden door. They are allowing their guys to come and go with other companies, including New Japan Pro Wrestling, including AAA, including Impact Wrestling based out of Florida or Nashville, how you want to say it. This is been a big thing lately in the world of AEW, is that the Impact World Championship, the former TNA title, has actually been held by Impact wrestlers. Kenny Omega won the belt October of 2020 when Omega beat Rich Swann for the belt. So he had it for, again, over a year, or the better part of a year. And then on last week's Rampage, the debut, great match, Christian Cage beat Omega to take the Impact/TNA World Championships. So there's some thoughts about, is this a good idea, having your main belt being held consecutively now by performers from another company? Like, does it kind of like rub dirt in the face of the men and I guess women in many ways that hold their belts and have contracts with Impact? What are your thoughts on that?
So I don't know exactly all the particulars. I know, so the belts are on AEW right now. That's where they've been seen. Does Kenny Omega go to Impact?
Yes.
And wrestle there?
Yeah, Omega it's Christian. They've already pre-taped a couple things. Basically, that's the one big thing. There's been a tremendous amount of crossover. Kenny Omega has been defending the title on Impact and on their pay-per-views. Most recently, he was feuding with a guy named Sami Callihan. And I think Moose was another guy. So they're giving Impact Wrestling a promotion that really has fallen to the wayside. Yeah, Moose. They're giving them the rub. There's no getting around it from my viewpoint. AEW is a much bigger entity. They're on TNT and TBS, whereas Impact, you can barely find them on TV half the time. I think they're on the TV Guide channel at this point. So there is a benefit from this, promotion, this partnership. I only started thinking about it because Christian won it on Friday. Did not expect that at all. So, yeah, I'm just wondering at what point will an actual Impact contracted wrestler win the belt and then just kind of almost pull away? I think the next time an Impact guy wins it, I don't anticipate them being on both promotions.
So, for those that have, if you've been around the TNA, block a couple times,
yeah,
we know that Christian wrestled there years back. So,
exactly.
In my mind, he's a TNA guy.
Yep.
Granted, okay, he's a WWE guy, he's an AEW guy, he's a this guy, he's a that guy. He's been around the block. So I thought that him getting the belts, to me, it didn't affect me. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that. They gave it to another AEW guy because he wrestled there. He's been a TNA, Impact champion before. So to me, it was nothing new. It just was another feather in his cap, so to speak, in his long list of titles that he's acquired over the year. Now, the other question that I'm going to bring up is Omega, and now, Christian is going to be going to Impact to defend the titles on over there.
Yeah.
Has anybody from Impact or TNA gone to AEW to do that cross promotion that you're talking about?
Yes, but not with this belt on the line. Like Gallows and Anderson, the Good Brothers that are part of the Elite, they're actually AEW contracted wrestlers, for example. So there hasn't been as many. AEW's had a lot of one and done people coming in, like Kento Kobashi came in. You also had Kenta came in, for a spell, not for that belt, but just making appearances. So that's the whole idea of the Forbidden Door that AEW and Tony Khan have kicked down, tremendously. I'm assuming that, who'd make the world champion, we posted on there. I think that with that thought you mentioned about Christian having such a tremendous lineage and history with Impact, I don't think we're going to see Christian on AEW for quite some time. I think that he is going to spend the next couple months on Impact, so that other guys on AEW can kind of come in and take some of the opportunities now. I just think he might have a flexible contract, because Kenny was doing both because he had belts in both companies.
Right.
Christian doesn't. He just has a belt for Impact. So I think that'd be kind of cool. Just let him be over to Impact for a little bit, and then have him come back later, because with Punk coming in, with Daniel Bryan coming in, plus the existing wrestlers, Hangman Adam Page coming in the main event, MJF's going to go there after his feud with Jericho. That main event crowd in the actual AEW is going to be awfully crowded. And Captain Charisma can take a timeout and go over to Impact's own stomping grounds and defend those belts.
So that being said, you don't think that Christian's going to win the AEW belt in the next 2 weeks or whatever?
Correct. No, I don't think he's going to win the belt. I'm still pulling for Hangman Adam Page. So it's kind of going off in a tangent, but I could just make a really quick theory. Hangman Adam Page is finally going to win the belt at I think it's Full Gear in November is their next show. He'll knock off Kenny Omega. Omega will at that point have had the belt for nearly a year because he beat Moxley back in December. So Hangman's going to finally win the belt after over a year of build. The fans are going to rejoice. They're going to go crazy.
Is he out?
He's in real life. He's out because his wife just gave a birth to their first child, so they gave him time off to spend with him.
Okay. Is he the one that got his arm messed up in one of the matches?
No, that was Dash Harwood from the FTR.
Okay. I just remember seeing the promo, and I wasn't sure if that was him or not.
No, I mean, he might have gotten hurt at some point, but again, from what I understand, I don't know Tony Khan or anything like that.
Right.
So I think that whole idea, though, is he's going to finally win the belt, though. And then that week, there's going to tie something into it where MJF gets the title shot, and he cheats, and he's going to beat him for his first title, and he's going to make spoiler of Omega's Cinderella story. I think that would get MJF such more heat. He already has it. You're going to have a lot of people in the crowd that cheer because of MJF, but I could see that going on. So I do think that Christian's done after this upcoming pay-per-view on the 5th of September, I believe it is. But again, I think that's why I think it was such a surprise that he won this other belt. But I think they're cleaning Omega up a little bit. They did a lot of good stuff. Now, that does bring us to the next thing, though, as far as Kenny going into the idea of what he's been doing. He represented Impact. He represented All E-Wrestling. He also is currently representing AAA as their champion over in Mexico. Again, Kenny Omega is the belt collector. He's the cleaner, whatever kind of nickname you want to give him. But this past Saturday, Andrade fought Kenny Omega for the AAA championship in Mexico. Curiously, I didn't even know this match was coming up. I'm going to assume if I didn't know that, you probably didn't know either. No offense.
I didn't realize Andrade was also doing stuff in Mexico. Exactly.
I don't know how many people really did. But even more so, so I saw this match, right? Good match. We'll talk about the actual match itself. But a huge surprise is Nature Boy Ric Flair, who just left the WWE last week, I believe.
Yeah, within 2 weeks.
Yeah, so he shows up in AAA. I have no idea where Ric Flair's 90-day complete clause or 30-day, whatever Vince had him tied up for. I don't know if it really connects to Mexico. it certainly has to connect to AAA, to AEW. But, like, I don't know. Bottom line is I was really surprised to see him on television just in general being recently released.
Well, being that I'm sure there's the fact that he's, I think they use like what the legend clause that they're only there for X amount of time.
Yeah.
And they just use them for their namesake, and then once they're done, they're done.
But he was on television though. Like he actually had a story and everything. I typically think the Legends contracts have to do more of like merchandising and one-off appearances. So I'd imagine Flair was under an actual talent contract. But again, I don't know.
Quite. Yeah, it's definitely possible. Granted, he wasn't. Yes, he has a storyline. He was coming out, but he really hadn't been on camera for quite some time.
Oh no, yeah, it had been a couple months, especially after Lacey Evans got pregnant.
Yeah, and then pretty much as soon as Charlotte's like, okay, Dad, we're good, go on out of here.
Yeah.
So maybe that was this 90 days of not being on any program that that was his loophole to get out of it, and then being able to go over there. And again, maybe that it's not in the United States. That's part of the contract,
right? Yeah, and it's Flair, and what are they going to really do to him?
Right. Well, unfortunately, there's ways of punishing him that will be kind of another story of ours to talk about. But
you brought it up. I mean, like we mentioned it in the very beginning. The whole thing is that Flair has that 16-time world championship record that they're knocking on the door right now, with the possibility of that getting broken. He could lose that record this coming Saturday. I mean, they did that with Demolition. They had the tag team titles for the all-time record. They sued the WWE for concussion problems. And wouldn't you know it, the New Day beat their championship reign. So, I mean, it happens. It definitely happened. Right. And I think Flair, personally, I think Cena is going to win. I really do. And it's not only that Flair showed up, because like you and I both said, we don't know the contract. And we don't know all the ins and outs. But did you see who was also there with Andrade and Ric Flair?
I did not, but I think you alluded to in a text message to me, and that was his daughter, Charlotte.
Yeah, so Charlotte was scheduled for this past – we had a couple things to talk about these house shows, by the way. But this past Saturday and Sunday, there were 2 WWE house shows. Or maybe it's Friday and Saturday, whatever. Charlotte Flair was scheduled and advertised to be in a triple threat match with Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash for the Women's Championship. She was advertised up until the show opened. She didn't show up because she was in Mexico. And she even tweeted online and showed a picture of the 3 of them in the locker room in Mexico. So first of all, you've got an AEW contracted performer standing and tweeting with a WWE contracted performer. Relationship or not, sometimes it's just not, looked at kindly. Plus, now you got Flair, who may have been breaking his no-compete clause, and Charlotte Flair also was just no-showing an event she was scheduled for. Maybe they gave her permission. Again, we don't know. We're not in that company. And the internet and ourselves could be just blowing this out of the water.
Right.
But if things were done dirty, Flair's getting done dirty on Saturday, and his reign's gone. His record is going to be blown up.
So that was one of the things that I'm referring to. And the other one is the fact that, Charlotte being in a match on Saturday, she can be taking the wrath of what her father has done. Yes, that I've heard rumors that they really want to get her numbers really high up there.
Yeah.
And to that amount where her father was or is or whatever. And so they may put a kibosh on that and kind of like, pump her brakes a little bit because of the fact that, she's done this. So she may be feeling some of the impact of what her father has done, as well as the fact that she was there. You know, she's only got herself to blame, so to speak, if anything does happen.
Right. Yeah. And SummerSlam's going to be really exciting just for that as well. Because, again, you know, professional wrestling is all about not only the rumors, not only the controversies. You know, sometimes it almost takes like a front seat to the actual content, you know. So it'll be interesting to see if they do anything. And, again, we might just find out that none of this is inappropriate, so to speak. The WWE might be like, oh, yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
Right.
Just not, I mean, I'll tell you this much. If Charlotte Flair showed up coming out to the ring with him, oh, you know, it's hitting the fan at that point. But, you know, now we did mention a couple of minutes ago about these two house shows. One of the top matches going into SummerSlam this coming Saturday is the rematch from WrestleMania this year. Bianca Belair defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against the Boss, Sasha Banks. I know that myself, I am really looking forward to this match. That was probably my favorite match of last at the WrestleMania. Really big on that match. But there's a lot of controversy between these two because they were scheduled to also have matches at these two house shows, and neither one of them were there. And unfortunately, some of the mumblings, which these days it just is what it is, some of the rumor is that one of the two, if not both, may have caught COVID. And again, there's no other reason otherwise as far as like, why were they neither of them there? You know what I mean? It's not like, I don't know. Like, you know, there's got to be like some kind of reason as to why neither of them were in the building. Because I think that if it's something just typical, they would have just had, like, you know, Bianca Belair defend against Zelina Vega or something. If it's just Banks, right. You know? So I've got some, like, thoughts. It's kind of putting the stuff together just by chance. I mean, God forbid they have, you know, the coronavirus. But I was kind of backtracking a little bit and seeing, like, you know, obviously whoever has it, you have to do, like, the contact tracing, right? You know, whoever was near them. Well, on SmackDown, you had Zelina Vega and Carmella. They were the only two that were in that segment with them. They did not appear at either house show nights. Are those two in big programs? No, but they just weren't there. In addition, the Street Profits, Montez Ford, is married to Bianca Belair. They weren't present, nor was the Alpha Academy. Those two teams have had a big feud. I think it's perfect for a house show loop. So, again, it could just be coincidence. But to me, the numbers are kind of adding up. The possibilities are there. I guess if that is the case, these two will not be fighting at SummerSlam because they wouldn't have had the 2 weeks to clear it. They wouldn't have the 10 days. Right. But WWE does not typically post it publicly what's happening. They have not canceled the match. So, again, it could have just been they missed their flights one day. I don't know. But I find it kind of curious.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. What about Sonya Deville? Was she there for the house shows, or do you not know?
No, she didn't. Basically, she was not present either because I didn't even think about her. But no, she wasn't on the list of anything that happened.
Okay. Yeah, and again, so that was the list of what happened. But what was there matches that were advertised that did not take place? And were these people part of it?
So the matches that were advertised that didn't take place, for sure, it was this match. They did have this scheduled. I do not know officially if the Alpha Academy and Street Profits was an advertised match. For the most part, the only matches that I was aware of that were actually advertised were this women's title match, and then also there was a 6-man tag with Cena and the Mysterios going up against the Bloodline, basically. And right. That took place. That match took place.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Look, this is not the first time that a match has been postponed or been removed from a pay-per-view.
Right.
You know, I know earlier on, I think it was WrestleMania, when Drew had it. I think they advertised that because they knew he was going to be cleared in time for him to actually be present for the actual event.
Right.
Whereas if this match doesn't happen, again, they did. I know this is a huge match for a WrestleMania rematch, but we also know that Fox loves to do big matches on Friday night. And if this match doesn't happen on Saturday, to have it take place the following Friday night is only going to be better for Fox and their ratings, which I'm sure Fox is like, gimme, because how many title matches have they pulled from a pay-per-view and did it like 2 nights earlier on Friday Night SmackDown?
No, you're right. I didn't think about it that way. So I mean, no matter what, whether it's as long as if somebody is sick, as long as they're both healthy coming out of this, financially and business wise, absolutely. I mean, obviously this won't be a forced thing this time where they actually moved the Hell in a Cell with Mysterio and Roman Reigns. That one was controversial because NBC Peacock, they lost a lot of money, in that venture. Whereas this one, it's kind of like our hands are tied, so
right,
because Fox will once again kind of get the benefit of this, right? I don't know how many people are technically ordering SummerSlam just because of this match. Personally, this is the match I'm looking forward to most. This isn't the Cena Reigns. I thought these guys are fantastic. These ladies are fantastic at WrestleMania. I'm a huge Sasha Banks fan, so I will be happy with this match whenever they get it. I'm just kind of curious if there is going to be anything going into Saturday as far as, again, who knows if anything we're talking about right now is even legit. Right. Like I said, I was kind of putting that together because bottom line is I saw that they missed house shows back to back, and I thought that was kind of odd because that was like the main event of the house shows. The blood.
I also heard rumblings on that. Right now, there's 10 matches.
Oh my God, it's a loaded card. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, so if by chance this one does have to get, removed from Saturday, yes, it will be, heartbreaking to see a match go. But I'm sure one of the matches will get, your kickoff match. I would not. Looking at the card, I have a feeling, I don't know, maybe that might be the Alexa Bliss one.
No, I disagree with you. I think they're going to do the Eva Marie Alexa Bliss match. They're going to make it an Iron Man match now. They're going to give all the time to them.
Yeah.
Lily needs to get more time. Let's Lily and Dewdrop, they'll have another. Oh, it's going to be great.
So I just, the big thing is, I know it's Tuesday night.
Yeah.
3 days from now, we'll have the next episode of Friday Night SmackDown. We'll find out if they are not on SmackDown this Friday. I think that's nail in coffin. So they're not feeling well. Something that's kind of the writing on the wall that one of them is sick.
Yeah.
And therefore they're going to be removed. Thankfully, everyone else I'm looking at the card here, no one that you mentioned is on the card.
Yeah, exactly. There's no Alpha Academy. Alpha Academy and the Street Profits had kind of their blow off on Friday. I mean, they're going to hopefully go further because the match was too quick. But that's for another time anyway. But exactly. All those guys, all those people kind of like competed in the bubble recently. So now you mentioned Friday. You mentioned that being 3 days away.
Yep.
That takes us to our main event of the evening. We've talked about it a little bit, but the biggest story in professional wrestling easily over the past 30 days for sure has been CM Punk's imminent return to professional wrestling as part of the AEW roster at the second episode this upcoming Friday at 10 p.m. on Rampage on TNT. That's a mouthful in itself. But
who's that guy?
Yeah, I know, right? And what's great is that CM Punk owns his name. He can have the theme music, everything else. Tony Khan has been doing, interviews. He was on Busted Open recently. He's been doing like all sorts of different things, online interviews as well. Bottom line is he just says is everybody knows what to expect. Anybody that asks him about is CM Punk coming in, his exact words are everybody knows what to expect. So if Tony Khan does not deliver CM Punk on Friday, AEW might as well pack their bags. Vince McMahon and company love to troll the fans. They love to not get them what they're expecting. I was talking to Bitter Ritz about a couple years ago, and everybody thought that Daniel Bryan was going to show up in the Rumble and didn't, and poor Rey Mysterio gets booed out of the building. If Punk doesn't show up, whoever comes out next, even if it's the most popular guy in the world, they're getting booed out of the building. Punk has to be there on Friday.
Yeah, if Darby does not fight CM Punk, whoever comes out will not go anywhere.
Right.
Like they're just going to get buried.
That's like what's going to happen on Friday, right? Is I can see that. Whereas, so Darby Allin comes out with Sting, right? They have a tag match against 2.0 on Dynamite on Wednesday, for example.
Yep.
They come out, they win that match. I mean, 2.0 could use a win, but I don't think they've been pushed enough yet to really be established. So Darby and Sting, they win the match. Friday, they come out and Darby's running his mouth, or they're just talking about like something. They have an interview with Sting. Who knows? And all of a sudden, you hear Cult of Personality start up. The place is going to explode. I actually am going to a friend's house. I'm going like 2-3 hours just to go to be with a friend of ours just to watch this live, because you know that this is going to be a moment.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, I don't want to be sitting in the game room just like texting people. I want to be like actually like around people. So, yeah, I'm super excited about this. CM Punk is going to bring a lot of further momentum. I don't know. I'm a mark for AEW, as you would say. I'm a big fan. I really, honest to God, think that AEW has the chance, has the opportunity to knock off Raw as the number one show of the week. They're not going to knock out WWE as a company. That's not possible. Even WWE sells, whatever. But like, I really think that AEW has this big opportunity right now that they can be the number one rated wrestling program weekly. The other two shows aren't exactly doing themselves any favors.
Right. The only thing is AEW would have to make some movement.
Right.
Essentially do the Monday Night Wars of 2020.
They kind of are. They're pulling in some big names.
Right. But I'm curious as to what their actual numbers are. I know I've seen various texts from Jericho that their numbers are beating, Raw numbers or something of that caliber from like Wednesday to Monday night or Wednesday to Friday. And Rampage is now at 10 o'clock. So yes, they're on the same night. So as fans, we get 3 hours of wrestling on Monday night and Friday night.
Right.
And then we get the 2 hours on Wednesday right there in the middle. 2 hours or so on Tuesday night for NXT. And Thursday is just, hey, let's catch up.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, you got a lot of programming, for sure. And that's just it. Like, they're not directly competing, because, you have that. Yeah, the alternate, like they're smart enough not to go face to face. Although when AEW was going face to face with NXT, they whooped NXT's behind, and NXT was an established brand. Like the same fan base was going for both.
I don't know. You've got a smaller. I guess they're definitely smaller markets per se,
right?
But I don't know. I don't put those on the same whatchamacallit. On the same level.
Okay.
But that's me. I'm not the one, doing all of the programming and stuff.
Right. I mean, Yeah, I think it's like one of the topics that we were going to actually talk about tonight, but we didn't, and officially was that, NXT, for example, has gone from being a darling with the wrestling fans to kind of being almost forgotten about and changed completely, whether it be, the company trying to take up AEW one-on-one by moving to USA Network to begin with and then having to, quote, retreat, to also just changing the whole nature of how that company, that organization is being run as far as NXT. So AEW is showing some dominance in that sense, by showing the WWE that they're not quite, some lesser known. And, Tony Khan and his father have a lot of money and they're willing to show it because even here they actually recently put up billboards in Times Square advertising AEW and AEW Rampage. They also were putting up advertisements in behind the home base at a Yankees game recently at an MLB game. So, and they're dropping money to bring in wrestlers left and right. I mean, you name it, legends have gone there. I don't think there's been too many legends that were like available that AEW did not scoop up or at least work with. Plus the collaboration with all these other companies. They have a piece of the pie around the world. AEW they're serious. They're here to play and they're here to honestly, I think they have a really good chance of pulling in numbers at Friday night or Wednesday night that do rival what WWE is doing in any of their days.
Right. So I'm looking at numbers here, and it looks like even what's the word I'm looking for?
Bananas.
Yes, they okay. That's they kind of their viewership. That SmackDown is actually having more viewership than Raw right now.
Well, they're a network television, though, to be completely fair. Everybody has access to Fox, whether you have cable or not.
Right. So I'm looking at the August 11th episode of AEW. I'm assuming that's Dynamite.
Yeah, August 11th would be Dynamite.
13th
was Rampage.
Right. So just shy of 1 million viewers. They had 979,000 viewers. Which was a drop-off from their week prior, which was at 1.1 million. And then, of course, you've got the Rampage view was at 740,000 viewers.
And that's a late-night show. That's the thing, too, is that it starts at 10 p.m., whereas Dynamite's at 8 p.m. It's more prime time.
Right. Impact Wrestling on Axs Tv has
they do theirs by viewers, I've heard. they just do it by likes.
So the August 12th show had 122,000 viewers. Now, to show that on the flip side, NXT, their episode on August 10th had 751 viewers, 751,000 viewers.
So wait, help me out again though. So 751. What did AEW Dynamite have on the following day?
Hang on, make sure I'm getting the right numbers here. On August 11th was 979,000.
Okay, so they had about 250 more then.
Yep.
Okay.
But then Rampage on the 13th at 740,000. So
they outdrew NXT even though it was on a Friday and it was later at night.
Say that one more time.
Rampage outdrew NXT on a time slot that was later, and it was on a Friday night.
No, NXT did better than Rampage. NXT had 751,000.
Okay.
And then you're going into I'll do Raw's numbers first. So August 16, which would have been just last night, had roughly 1.857 million views.
Okay.
if you want to go last week, because that's all these shows were from last week. I'll use last week's numbers is 1.79 million. And then SmackDown from last Friday had roughly 2.499 million viewers overnight. And it says that they have 2.084 was the final televised for Fox.
So WWE is still, like, Raw is still 1 million viewers over AEW. And then SmackDown's about 1.5 million over them, if my math is correct. It might not be, but they, the bottom line is, like, they're still outdrawing AEW, which is, it's not a shock. I mean, again, you have Raw has been on USA Network at 8 o'clock on Mondays since 1993. So you're looking at 28 years, I believe.
Yeah, just shy of 30 years at this point.
Whereas AEW's been on for 2, and they're just gaining, speed. I mean, again, they could just be a flash in the pan.
But here's the thing: by pulling in people like Daniel Bryan, like CM Punk, I guarantee you, I didn't curse there, that CM Punk's episode, this Friday night, Rampage is going to have huge numbers.
Well, the arena in Chicago, tickets went on sale, and they sold 30,000 tickets in an hour.
Yeah, like just very shortly. I thought it was like closer to 5 minutes, but yeah, hour.
But yeah, bottom line, if you sell 30,000 tickets, even if it's in a day, that's fantastic. So,
yeah.
And you've got that. Plus, in Queens, New York, on the 4th, I want to say, it's the beginning of September. Queens, New York is having a giant stadium show at the tennis arena, and that's where Daniel Bryan's rumored to debut.
Nice.
It's a huge stadium. I don't know how many tickets have sold, but a lot. So
that's a fair number. That's a fair number if you just want to go a lot.
Yeah, right.
So I can only imagine by WWE, not re-signing people, them losing people requesting to get out of their contracts, and then AEW picking them up and, possibly going and getting a spot over at AEW where they can, wrestle and get that exposure. And we've kind of talked on a previous show that, the doors are open. There is that cross-pollination, biggest crossover, hold my beer type of scenario where you've got AEW, TNA Impact, AAA in Mexico, Ring of Honor possibly. There's I don't know if they still do the New Japan stuff. That they're all working together to quote unquote take down the big giant of WWE. So it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right, and that's what's, making a lot of things, kind of getting shaken up in the world of professional wrestling, WWE and all, and all these rumors about them selling the company. Now it's time to strike, and that might be what's causing the WWE to kind of make some moves as well. But we'll be continuing to make moves each and every day as we go through the week. And again, I can't wait for things to spill out, especially on tomorrow's going to be exciting for sure. It's WWE, it's at AEW. MJF's going to be fighting Jericho. As the culmination, so to speak, of the Labors of Jericho feud. The Impact tag titles are going to be defended. Good Brothers versus Jungle Express or Jurassic Express. Lots of stuff going on. And then obviously SummerSlam. I mean, it's going to be a big show. Exciting stuff right now. And, we've been talking about last night a little bit too, but, it's vacation season for all of us. So we try to get a lot of our shows out there each and every day, 8 p.m. But if we're not able to, remember, you can check out all of our, our replays, that are on YouTube and other networks or other resources like a Twitch and a Facebook. But tomorrow is going to be, we have the Game Room. Thursday is I Stream, You Stream. Friday is Funko Royalty. Saturday, Mail Call, Mail Time. Sunday, Call the Wild and Crazy Card Collecting on Monday. Again, these shows are all at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you miss us one night, you can always check us out on our replays, like I mentioned. And even if you want to get a double dip, when you're done watching us right now, feel free. Jump on YouTube, go and watch me get a haircut from a year and a half ago, or take a look at an old Slam Nation when Undertaker retired. whatever you want to watch. We are here for you. We like to get all the different stuff on there, you know. I'm a little distracted right now because my cat, Ellie, I think it is running around like crazy. One of the new mascots for New York Nerd Show. But anyway, Lord Cash, anything you want to add to our adoring fans before we take off for the evening?
7 + 4.
Yep, gave you my gimmick right there. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. That gives you opportunities to enter into contests each and every month. It also lets you spread the word of the nerd and know when we're going live. Until the next time you see us, we hope you have a wonderful evening and just take care of yourself and adios.
Good night.